Today, we will talk how to use artificial intelligence to help, hopefully help, right, with our research writing. And here's our agenda for today. First, we'll just brief definition of what artificial intelligence is, and then we'll talk about different tools that are used, and I refer to them as writing AI. I will also report on some research findings, both by colleagues and myself, and then we will actually dive into using these writing AI tools, right? We'll practice some outlining, summarizing, and drafting. And then I'll finish up with recommendations, and finally, we will open the floor for Q&A. All right, let's begin. So according to the definition provided by the Britannica Encyclopedia, artificial intelligence refers to the ability of a digital computer or computer-operated robot to do some intelligent things that human beings typically do, right? It's, for example, ability to reason, discover meaning, generalize, learn from past experience. Now you can actually, with ChatGPT, you can even provide feedback, and it kind of learns and improves, right? We hope. And nowadays, it's a very hot topic, especially recently, since ChatGPT became so good, let's say, at generating texts. But there are many more actually writing tools which are powered by artificial intelligence, and you can see some of those here, right? ChatGPT, Grammarly, QuillBot, and some others. And in our session today, we will focus on and work with these four. QuillBot, you can see it here, Rytr, Good AI, and WordTune. I decided not to focus on ChatGPT on purpose, just because I feel like at this point, everybody has used it and experimented with it in one way or another. In addition to that, both in order to use, for example, ChatGPT or Grammarly, you need to use extra steps like using VPN and all these other things. And the ones that I'm going to use today, you don't need to do anything extra just to click on the link. Basically, they can be used openly here in Russia. First of all, when people started developing these tools, right, big testing companies like Educational Testing Service, right, ETS, was one of the first to develop these tools, and they wanted to streamline and to fasten the scoring process for high stakes writing tests, basically, right? And then they transformed it to this automated writing evaluation, as they call them. And it refers to writing formative feedback and assessment, right, provided by technology. And there has been a growing research interest on how students, and especially students who are non-native speakers of English, use these tools. And some research looks at the higher versus lower order revisions, right? When students, for example, use it to revise their ideas in the text or just to fix the grammar. And I assume that the majority of us use them to fix our grammar. Ranalli did a very interesting study where he also asked the students, do you actually trust the feedback that is provided by these tools? And many students said, not really, but there are some differences, of course, depending on students, language levels, etc. And recently, scholars started asking these questions, like, for what purposes do we use these tools? Is this for text generation when it actually writes for us? Is it for some writing-related activities like outlining, summarizing, paraphrasing? Is it for something else? And another big, huge topic is ethical issues, right, that surround these tools. And I guess all of you are familiar with this instance when one of the students here in Moscow graduated with a diploma that was literally written by ChatGPT, and he said that he spent 36 hours writing it. And even though he passed, right, he got the satisfactory mark. But here's like the ethical dilemma. Do we consider it as a plagiarism? Do we consider it as a cheating behavior, right? And I don't think the writing community, including the creators of these tools, know how to deal with this kind of issues. And we also conducted our own study, and the study was conducted in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, a year ago, and the goal was to identify what kind of tools students use when writing. Okay, and in this portion of the study, we actually looked at the behaviors of 3 students. 2 of these students were girls, and all of them were first-year students. So they had to write a research paper on a controversial topic using different sources, and they could use different tools like text generating software, for example, Google Docs or Word, and automated writing evaluation like Grammarly or anything else they wanted to use. They didn't have to use those, but if they used it, there was no penalty, basically. And the whole study lasted for 5 weeks, and we asked students to record their video screens while they were writing. And then I interviewed them every week to ask about their progress and, you know, like what tools and how they used, how they interpreted that feedback and all this other stuff. And there was an interesting pattern that we observed, right? Like all of us, like I assume that we also do that. We students used text processing software for the formulating stage or drafting their papers, right? While they were just, you know, generating some ideas. And while they were writing, they received this feedback from technology from MS Word. And I assume everybody has experienced it. When you type, it corrects your spelling mistakes, or when you write like a long phrase, it now suggests you how to shorten it, how to make your style better, etc. But then there were some students who needed, you know, additional feedback from such tools as Grammarly or QuillBot. And specifically, one of our students, she typically had 4 steps. She would first write one sentence in Word or Google Docs. Then she would paste it into QuillBot, into Paraphraser. Here's like a real example. Then she would paraphrase it as step 2, right? Then she would play with the words over here. When she was happy, she would then paste it into Grammarly, check it for grammar and style, and only after she was happy with that version, she would paste it into a different Word document or Google Doc that was the final draft. And she did it with every single sentence. That was like a very peculiar and interesting behavior, but it seems like there are some students who like really use different types of writing tools powered by artificial intelligence for different purposes, and we need more research on doing that, right? And as I said here, the student used it for paraphrasing, but you can now use these tools not only for paraphrasing, but for other things as well. And here's our first task. First of all, you need to think about a topic that corresponds with your recent research or the research interest that or research topic that you know the most. Okay, and then I want you to follow the instructions in your handout first for Rytr. I think there you will need to create your own account, but it's very easy. And only after that, move on to the Good AI. I have pre-selected the options which are, you know, the goal of this task is to practice how to outline, okay? In this case, since it has block idea and outline, I use the outlining function, as well as in the second one, Good AI, it also has an outlining function. So we're focusing on this one. So when you have time after the seminar, you can actually, you know, explore these other options and features on your own. Well, primary keyword stands for the research or like the topic or the term that you are actually want to write about. And yes, in this case, if you want, for example, my research interest is self-regulated learning, and that's what I wrote in the primary keyword section. So for example, if for you it's quantum mechanics, you can write quantum mechanics in there, or I don't know, whatever, self-efficacy or you know, parenting styles. Just keep in mind that Rytr is one of the tools, and at this point, just create an outline using the keywords that are most appropriate to you or most correspond with your research topic. And then, because there is the second tool that we want to use to create an outline, and then compare two outlines, okay? So make sure that you have time to use both Rytr and Good AI. Job role, it's basically like, are you looking for the engineer or project manager? So you have to specify what kind of job role you're looking for. HR manager, occupation, basically. After experimenting with these two tools, what do you think? Which outline meets your purpose the most? I saw some reactions from people already. And Oksana, for example, is not happy with the output. And then Evgeny was not happy with the output from Rytr. So Yelena says, good AI is pretty amateur. Okay, Rytr is crap. Okay, says Yaroslav, great. Okay, what else? Okay, and Pavel says that he likes Rytr more, and in comparison, the good AI outline on his topic sounded a bit like a student essay. Okay, great. And Rytr, Plop says, Rytr, I can't find how it could help me. Okay, it's fine. Evgeny says that a Rytr might possibly be useful for coming up with ideas to promote your existing research. Yeah, exactly. But you need to be very specific, right? Providing these keywords in order to receive the output that you're looking for. Yeah. And also Nazir says it depends on the level of expectations we have from AI, correct? It should support more than driving us. 100% agree. Maria says that Rytr met her expectations halfway through, let's say, not fully, and good AI was a little bit better. And Evgeny says that the good AI is a little more promising. Okay, so it looks like good AI is a little bit better, but again, I do agree with Nazir that we need to know why we're using it, and as Ekaterina also said, that yeah, I mean, it does a good job, but it can facilitate what we're already doing. Yeah, saving your time you'd spend doing the same thing or something very trivial, right? It depends on your goals, what you're trying to do. Cool. And just some things you've already actually mentioned all these things. If we talk about outlining, right? And I highly recommend this online writing lab by Purdue University. They have very I like that they're short and understandable, the suggestions, right? And this is for writing an outline, doing it on your own without help of the, let's say, of any tools. And you have to keep in mind, right, what is the purpose of your paper? And I'm going back to one of the comments that you need to provide very specific instructions or keywords to these tools, right? If you want to get really good output. You need to remember who's your audience, and it goes back, I guess, to that question at the beginning of this task that like in terms of the tone they can use, in terms of the formal or informal language, etc. And your thesis statement, what kind of message are you trying to deliver, right? And only after that, you brainstorm your ideas. And here, at least these tools, they are not brainstorming for you, right? They already generate whatever information they receive from the text that they've been trained on, right? One of you said that it doesn't really organize related ideas well, right? So you have to be very critical when you're looking at these outlines. And another thing of a good outline is that it orders ideas from general to specific typically. So again, with some of these tools, if you're not specific enough with your keywords, right, you have to do extra manual work in order to, order and organize all these ideas and label them by headings and subheadings. Yeah, and the quality of the output usually depends on the data set that has been used to train these tools, okay? Typically, the more the more money they have, like for example, ChatGPT or Google-powered writing AI, right? The bigger the data sets, the better the output, but not ideal. All right. Let's move on to the second task. Now we will use QuillBot and WordTune for summarizing, okay? And in here, I want you to use a research article in English, okay, that you're familiar with and that covers your research topic. Again, QuillBot and WordTune, and all of these actually tools, the free versions that they have a limit, right? Sometimes like it depends. With QuillBot, I guess it's up to 200, more than 200, I guess. I don't remember the details now. But like if you go paragraph by paragraph, you can actually do the whole article. With WordTune, you can upload the whole article. But anyway, so use a research article that you're familiar with. I think in WordTune, you will need to create an account. QuillBot can be, I think in WordTune, you can actually upload the whole article. I don't think there is a limit. But you can also do it text by text. I mean, paragraph by paragraph. Actually, we should take into account, right? When you feed your own work, it saves it and it's in its own database and reuses it later on to retrain the model, right? They're all trained on this models, linguistic models, this ones at least. And it stays in that repository, so be careful. All right, I hope that most of you are done, and let us move on to the next part. I want you to remind you a couple of important things when summarizing, paraphrasing, or quoting. Again, I use this information from Purdue Online Writing Lab, and if you look at this table, the first bullet point, you can see that both for all actually, summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, they should you should always reference the original source, and at least in my personal experience, like they don't really provide it. Okay, so you have to keep this in mind. You need to provide the original source, and also in summarizing and paraphrasing, text is usually shorter, not always, yeah. And also a very important thing that in summaries and paraphrases, you need to use your own words, let's say, in order to avoid plagiarism, right? Otherwise, we know plagiarism is bad and we shouldn't do it. We should always cite our sources, okay? So this is just a reminder, and some things that you need to pay attention to when using these tools for summarizing and paraphrasing. Right now, let's move on to our third task, which is basically to use QuillBot and Good AI for drafting, right? Or co-writing, let's say, about your research. Okay, so use a research topic that you're currently working on, and first follow the instructions in your handout for QuillBot, and then move on to the Good AI. We have like 20 minutes here, just because we thought that you know, this task was text generation might take some time. In QuillBot, you will need to select option drafting, and just follow this instruction. Yeah, and I highly recommend using the suggest text option just to see what kind of suggestions it would provide. So the tools that we're using today, yes, they are focused on the English language. And since Academic Writing Center works with the English language, that's why we do it in English. You know, I did do some research in December. It was in December, looking for similar tools in Russian. There are a few, but they are not generating the tool, generating the text, or they're summarizing the text. They actually check the style and grammar in Russian. They seem to be user-friendly, but not great. I think, at least that's what I heard recently, that Yandex is trying to, you know, create its own chat GPT in Russian. So I guess we should wait for Yandex to, you know, actually do that and let us use it at some point. And then we'll have like a compatible, you know, writing tool powered by artificial intelligence. And typically, my experience with tools for example, qualitative data analysis in Russian, and I assume the same is true about these tools like Rytr and others that do have Russian as an option. And even, well, ChatGPT does a pretty good job with it, but they're typically not as great just because, I don't know why, just because they are developed not by Russian speakers, but you would think that they would be great, right? Because they are supposed to be trained on Russian texts. So like the quality of the Russian text, I'm not sure it's going to be great. But the software for qualitative data analysis, Russian is not that good there. Yeah, one thing about the good AI that it's limited, the free version is limited to 150 words. So you have to be creative if you want to use it, like for longer texts. Yeah, with references, the QuillBot does have this opportunity, I guess, but it's for the, I'm not sure if it's for the paid. It says create accurate citations for free. I typically refer to Google, what's that? Scholar, right? That's my go-to. But the best options, I think, for this kind of references is still using the tools which are developed by the librarians like Zotero or Mendeley, etc. I'm pretty sure that they will be now using the artificial intelligence to power these tools as well. So I think it's still better to use these tools rather than, you know, just some random stuff, which is available online and that is not that famous. Plus they have access to all these databases and, you know, libraries. So it's better to use those instead. Are there any regulations? I don't know of any at this point, but I'm pretty sure that American Psychological Association and all these other associations that actually develop the guidelines for referencing, for citations, for publications, they will, I'm pretty sure they're already working on this just because that is a legit question, right? And also, like, it's the question of both, like, our intellectual property, let's say, developed by us as humans or developed by the machine, right? And another thing, like it has to do how do we define this stuff, like the stuff which is generated by artificial intelligence. Is this cheating? Is this plagiarism if we use it when we're writing our research papers, for example, right? Should we use it and include it into bibliography, specifying that, for example, I checked my grammar since I'm not a native speaker of English using QuillBot, for example? That's a very good question. And I'm pretty sure soon there will be guidelines on how to deal with this stuff. I feel like before ChatGPT and this boom that it created, people did not take these things seriously, but now I'm pretty sure there will be some guidelines. ChatGPT is forbidden in Italy, and I suspect that it will be forbidden in some other countries as well. Again, just some tips to remind you, right, what we need to do when we write some academic texts. While writing, use the quote that was cited very often by one of my mentors: write fast, edit slow. And it kind of makes sense, right? So once you draft stuff, right, you can actually do it on your own on your Word document, or you can, you know, sometimes use help from all these tools. But you should keep in mind, you know, when you're revising, that the text that you're producing either on your own or with the help of the tools, you should keep in mind your main point, right? What is your main point? What message are you trying to deliver? Who is your audience? Again, right? Like, are you writing it to scholars, or are you writing it to some other audience for practical uses, right? again, does the evidence support your claims? Especially this is true when you use some, tools. Does the evidence that the tool uses actually support your claims? And is this evidence credible, right? You want to make sure that it comes from, that it's not some, common knowledge or observation, that it's actually research-based, because here we care a lot about our research evidence-based approach, let's say. Is there extra needless information, right? And earlier during the seminar, some people were saying that it kind of talks about similar concepts, but from other fields. So you have to keep an eye on that information, especially when you use tools to generate your text. And then as a final step, you can use these tools. We didn't do it today, but you can use them to edit your grammar and style and tone, to eliminate any problems with grammar and usage. But you have to be very careful, because sometimes both Grammarly used to do it and a QuillBot sometimes does it, right? It might edit or paraphrase your terminology and jargon. Okay, and we know that jargon in our field is actually the key to deliver ideas to our colleagues. So you have to be very careful when you're using these tools for editing as well. Even though, some writing teachers may be very much against using these tools, for students to practice writing, but at the same time, I feel like we need to be familiar with these tools and know how they are used in order to actually help our students to make smart choices, let's say, in terms of which tools to use and how to use these tools. Yes, you can use these tools as idea generators, let's say. Sometimes all of us get stuck when we're writing, so you could, just type in and see what kind of ideas it will provide for you, and it can enrich your writing maybe. What is the limitation, right, of these instruments? I think they are trained to actually write hundreds of scientific papers, but we should maybe think about the quality of these scientific questions, right? Are they actually usable? Are they really scientific? With AI allows you to write only 150 words. In terms of Grammarly, I think there is also a word limit, but if you have a premium access, right, where you pay, of course, the length is longer. Yeah, so it depends. It depends. Some final recommendations, right, for all of us. We've used these tools for different parts of the, let's say, of text generation at this point, right? And I have a couple of recommendations, like on how to use, right? You can totally use them for drafting your papers, for outlining, for paraphrasing, summarizing, and even text generation, right? But try to be very thoughtful when you're using them, and we'll come back to that later. You can also use them for revising, like plagiarism checker, for a co-writer when you, for example, are stuck and don't know how to develop some of their idea. I think co-writer can be a good strategy to use, right? But don't over-rely on it. And also style, in terms of style and tone, casual, formal, etc. But the problem here, in terms of using all these tools, in some cases you have to pay, right, for the access in order to use these features. And editing, don't forget that most of these tools first were developed as grammar checkers, so you can easily use them as a grammar checker or citation generator toward the end of your work. But again, you have to be careful when using these tools for all these stages of writing. But our session today showed that these tools powered by artificial intelligence can be used above and beyond automated writing evaluation, right? But you have to use them thoughtfully and check the quality of the tools first. I really liked how somebody at the beginning wrote that Rytr is crap. And I'm actually glad that I used it, just because you saw that that specific writing tool was developed for a different type of audience, not for academicians, right? Not for people who write research, but for people who are in marketing, for in generating some easy news, etc., right? So you have to check the quality of the tool first, but then you have to check the quality of the generated text. right? Does it describe the construct or topic correctly? And we've seen some examples here today earlier when people were saying, yeah, it describes something related to the construct, but not really. In terms of the paraphrases and summaries, does it reference the original source? If it does reference or uses some references or citations, do these citations and references exist, right? And if they do exist and it provides some authors even check if these authors exist and if they actually publish this kind of work in peer-reviewed reference journals, because ChatGPT sometimes creates whatever it wants. Okay, it just uses bits and pieces from all this volume of data that it uses in its model and just create something new. So double check. And also in terms of citations and references, when they generate a reference or citation, not all of them actually do a very good job. I am personally guilty of using Google Scholar, especially for APA referencing, but it does a really, really good job with articles typically, but very often it doesn't have a DOI link. And it does a terrible job referencing chapters from handbooks or books. Okay, so even if you use some sources, even like Mendeley and Zotero does it sometimes, check with the manuals. Okay, and then also some of them, the advanced, especially advanced tools, for example, ChatGPT, because again, here at Institute of Education, we had this huge seminar on using ChatGPT for writing, and they asked to generate a text about Ivan Grozny, and it just made up the date when he became, Tsar and all this other information. So whenever they insert some sort of facts, dates, numbers, statistics, double check this information. Okay. I think that's it at this point. Thank you very much for your attention and active participation. Take care and be very careful when using, machines to do tasks that you can do the best. You just remember that you are the experts. And you have the creativity. So please, please, don't delegate some of these tasks to machines. I believe in you. We can do it.